Me too, son. Me too.
No. No.
We're back this week for the thirstiest episode of KingOhger I've ever seen this fandom in. Y'all need Spider Jesus, but I think we all learned today that we all have a fine appreciation for the original Queen of Sass. Jeremie's mom on this week's KingOhger. So Jeremie's mom is back, and she's gone. Diglett has captured her and put her in a jar, which you too can have for the low price of Finders Keepers. Cosmo King out here has thought up of a plan to defeat the Sentai, and Jeremie's mom is the key. He's going to turn the kings all against each other, and thus have them defeat themselves in the process. So afterwards, we get the dish on Jeremie's mom, and she indeed has got it going on. As back in the day, she... Jesus Christ! No. Run that all back. Meanwhile, Jeremie's mom had it going on, and she was the one to defeat Daigorg back in the day. But this got all the bugs against her and united in her defeat. You know what? Nah. Fuck the Bugnarok. Jeremie's saving these guys? No. Yama's feeling Jeremie's mom's vibes though. But at the end of the day, they still gotta squash it. And God KingOhger would be the only thing capable of taking down something that took down Daigorg. But Jeremie doesn't want to help squish his mom like that, even if he is part of that formation. And Jeremie then points out a vital clue for later in the story. The space bugs are likely watching the events play out and eating popcorn while at it. So, here we go. Yama's first up, taking Jeremie out to and they'll be waiting for Rita to judge, while Himeno wants Grody put to the top of the most wanted list. But Rita can't do that because they got other fish to fry, even though Grody is part of that. But Himeno's selfish nature lands her in cuffs. While Deboski tries to make first contact, Gira is the only one out of the loop and tries to stop the mayhem, but he goes from getting shot at to bearing witness to top tier bribery. Hey wait, what's on that TV? Jeremie's mom? Ooh, Jesus Cristo. Yama and Jeremie get tired of waiting for Rita, so they throw hands just to meet Gira halfway. And Himeno joins Deboski in Mexico trying to find aliens. It seems Dracula's plan is working, and Gira is at a loss as everyone's become so unreliable. Thus, Big Mama is unleashed. Welcome to Jeremie's mom. Dukum's finally gonna win, but this suddenly becomes some kind of flick as Mama gets the bondage. It's here we find out that the kings were all faking and he fell for it. But did Gira get it? Bruh! Jeremie explains that he already knew that his mom up there wasn't fully her, since she did die when he was a kid. But since Space Dandy out here got caught in 4K getting got, they can finally clear the air with the citizens on what's been going on. Jeremie's mom. I mean, Jeremie wasn't really a bad guy, and the bugs aren't bad guys either. And this entire arc has been redeemed. But although that's been dealt with, they still got someone to fight. And she's a feisty little big thing. I mean, look at that small big bug kicking the shit out of God KingOhger. But it seems her proper self has taken aware of what's going on and holds back, as Jeremie tearfully says goodbye once more. Man, see, that's fucked up. But you know what else is more fucked up? Getting thrown into the abyss to somewhere even Darkwind thinks is more fucked up. Earth. Reading time! This episode, I guess, wraps up the first Galactic Bug arc in a nice episode focused on everyone's compatibility to read between the lines. However, I did feel that the way they went out was not as grandiose as the way they came in. But Jeremie's mom brings this one back up to an A. Gotcha. This was indeed a fantastic episode. Remember, A ranks are really, really good. But there are a couple of things that make the tempo of things just kind of stop for me. First up, Grody is really just taking a nap, and once again, given how hyped I was learning about the fury of the gods, this aftermath conclusion of things just being tossed to the side like that just leaves a diet taste in my mouth. You know, when you drink like Diet Cola and while it's on your tongue, you're like, yeah, this is it. But then, once you swallow it, that afterbite is gone, and you're like, where'd that taste go? The other is that we get to see that Jeremie was still a child when KingOhger was killed the first time, meaning that this is well into the Bugnarok isolation. But part of that isolation came from Jeremie telling them to stay down there for 2,000 years. That kind of implies that they took advice from a child. I'm sorry, what? This little nugget here throws things off. Now I will say that it's cool that a little bit of tidbit lore that Jeremie dropped ages ago about warring factions within the Bugnarok did throw his own mom into that mix, while also showing us that she was the one that defeated KingOhger to begin with, and that's why Raculus had to revive him for Deathnarak. It's that bit of continuity that I really enjoy, but once again, the timeline of events just doesn't add up. Factor this. Deathnarak implies that he was not alive when the prophecy was made, but we know that KingOhger was Deathnarak's general until he was defeated, which means Jeremie made the prophecy, then Deathnarak was born, then his mom beat the shit out of KingOhger, and Jeremie was still a child. I mean, look, he probably ages slower due to his genetics, but still, a child's prophecy is what you believed. I did enjoy the antics this week as the Kings play a game all to Gira's unawareness. But it's funny because throughout the entire arc, we see that Gira has become a bit uptight. He feels like the others are unreliable countless times, and he's the mature one in the group. It's been something that's been bugging me this whole arc. It's as if he lost some part of himself over the course of these last 2 years. Since pre-time skip, they tried to tell Gira to really not to try to become so high and mighty and really just be himself, but he's rarely cut loose outside of the first episode of this arc. The story of Jeremie's mom, as far as her reappearance, was very predictable, but the execution of the finishing blow to a mere silence was a fine touch indeed. But now that Dagdead's pissed off and he still wants to play this game, it's off to Earth we go as we see this crossover and how it's gonna end up working out next week. Though, it's just one episode, right? Really wish this show, or at least this arc, really had like some 2 or 3 episode arcs, but it's just transition to transition to transition. And looking at the writer's recent interview, he did state that he wanted to make a show that he wasn't bored with. If he let things drag on too long, he would get bored. So he tries to make each episode stand out. But at the same time, a lot of his inspiration is anime and manga when it comes to the source material for this show. And those, a lot of the times, at least the ones that it seems like he's referencing, are very serialized in their nature. And the first half of the show had that, while this second half has just been non-stop movement to something. As the effects felt from the previous episodes get proper resolution in only a handful of episodes in, yet it took so many episodes to point out to the people that Raculus was a dick. Though I guess lessons learned from the past, because they kind of reuse the same tactic to call out Dagdead. But in terms of villainy, I have to say, so far Raculus and Deathnarak are miles above Dagdead, even if this guy wields the power cosmic. So, what did you think about this week's Mom-Ohger? Jeremie's mom, that bug Jeremie came from, and that spider shot. Anyway, that's it for me. Until next time, bye.
You're kicking out the from the door.